Okay, we'll get right into it. My name's Ian, and when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, now more popularly known as autism spectrum disorder. I don't really agree with the term Asperger's, I will discuss that later. But why am I talking about that? I've noticed that quite a few comedians have started talking about autism, and that's natural. It's a popular talking point right now. We're learning a lot more about it as a society. The problem is a lot of those comedians aren't autistic, and I feel like those laughs belong to me. You know, if anyone's going to profit, it should be. Um, Another reason, of course, is I have a voice. I'm not non-verbal. Non-verbal autism is common, and when you're a minority comedian, the instinct is to speak out to that minority in the audience. But it's not as if I can go, "Hey, any non-verbal people in tonight?" Typical Dave. Um, but I to this day still, after doing this material so often, I've been doing it for the last 6 months, I still get people asking me, are you really autistic? And I get it, I don't conform to the idea of what people assume autism looks like, but I sense a certain suspicion behind it, like, are you really? As if I'm gonna go, yeah, I just made it up for 10 minutes of material. So, to bring a bit of heavy-hitting proof to this, I'm going to read out my mental health records. These were from when I was submitting it to the disability service in my last university, so I've got a handy little file containing all of them. But this one's from 2001. I saw Ian on one occasion and he meets the criteria for Asperger's syndrome. Problems in nonverbal communication, problems in peer relation, problems in empathy. He's fascinated by video games and was earlier fascinated by a wooden spoon. Yeah, you laugh now, but any Irish person knows that the wooden spoon is an object of terror. Okay, I was reappropriating that spoon. Okay, when the Bolsheviks seize the factories, apparently that's heroic, but when Ian takes the spoon, he's suddenly autistic. Additionally, Ian has, this is from a bit older, this is 15 years old. Ian has at least, problems in socializing, Ian has at least 2 friends, and it is felt that they both have unusual personalities. And then, right at the end of the document, the cheeky fucker says, it is felt that his self-esteem might be low. Oh! I wonder why. There's one very good sentence here about, oh yeah, Ian's observations don't meet the commonly formed definitions of humor. It is felt that he has developed his own idea of what is and is not funny. But as a kid, I was quite literal-minded. I wouldn't have gotten jokes. That made me an object of pranks quite often. I didn't get it, but I understood that it was a valuable skill to have, making people laugh. So I wanted to learn it. I wanted to develop that. And I can now admit the irony at the age of 25 of becoming a stand-up comedian to prove that I'm emotionally stable. It's a bit like becoming a magician to prove that you're having a lot of sex. Comedians don't like that joke, and initially I thought they were going, oh, Ian, don't joke about the depression, that's not funny. I later realized they were going, don't fucking compare us to magicians. We have to be above something. But my ideas of whether or not I was funny, whether or not I could understand jokes, and that autism's part in that all changed during the Tide Pod incident last year. Now, for those of you who don't know, Tide Pods are laundry detergent pods, and there was a bit of a craze in early 2018 where they were saying millennials have started eating Tide Pods. This is the next big craze. And what people don't know commonly is that this all originated as a joke on an autism forum. Okay, a lot of people were saying they Synesthesia is quite common on the spectrum, so confusing taste with sight. And a lot of people were saying, wow, Tide Pods, they look so yummy. I mean, imagine if you ate a Tide Pod. Wouldn't it be funny if we started pretending that we were eating Tide Pods? You know, I mean, you wouldn't, obviously, it would kill you. But imagine if you did eat a Tide Pod. Wouldn't it be fun? I mean, obviously don't. And then people did, in fact, eat Tide Pods and died. And bearing in mind what I said earlier about being accused of being quite gullible, I just want to note that all the people who died, not one of them was autistic. Right? And I don't want to brag, but I never ate laundry detergent as a kid. You wouldn't catch me dying from eating a Tide Pod. Not with all the vaccines inside me. I mean, joking aside, that is an irritating thing. Like, one of my comedy heroes from when I was a kid, Jim Carrey, is a big anti-vaxxer, and I find that really upsetting. He's, you know, someone I would have really looked up to, and you know, he's essentially saying that a child he would prefer a dead child to an autistic one, and you know, it's kind of hard hearing your hero. I mean, that's why I'm trying to appropriate his aesthetic from him. I want to reclaim it in the name of the community, but he. I mean, I wish anti-vaxxers would be honest with their campaign. I wish that for one of their actual ads, they were saying the dangers of vaccine, and one of them is just a picture of a child dying of an easily preventable disease like measles, and the other picture is a child holding up his Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction. My mom actually thinks she gave me autism. She thinks because when I had pneumonia as a kid, she gave me Panadol and Calpol in the same hour, and she thought that somehow messed up my brain chemistry. I haven't told her that yet. I haven't told her that she's wrong. I mean, I don't want to give up that kind of leverage. I want to buy a car someday, and that'll be a good thing in the back pocket. But the thing is, I'd be quite passing in terms of most autistic people. I have passing privilege, for want of a better word. I can integrate better. One of the irritating things is I don't really have what we call superpowers. In the autistic community, we have superpowers, you know, so mathematics, etc. You know, people sometimes come up to me with boxes of matches because of Rain Man and assume, you know, why would I spend my time counting matches when I could be burning bridges with them like everybody else? But this term superpower gets thrown around a lot, but I have quite a high recall memory. That's about it. I don't really have any of those bells and whistles. So if we're talking superpowers, if other autistic people are like the Avengers, I'd be Hawkeye. You know, he's there. He's there. No one can deny that. He's there. Interesting thing, I don't know if any of you saw this, but I saw there was an article the other day about how apparently Chris Evans had grown this really ugly mustache at Captain America, and people were saying, can we have a Captain America with a mustache? Are we ready for Captain America with a mustache? And he even joked himself that the mustache he had looked like something either a 80s porn star or an American highway cop would have. And I feel like you can decide someone's political affiliation based on which of those they prefer. And I'll tell you, the difference between an American highway cop and a porn star is that one of those people is okay with being filmed while doing their job. But I was told everything would change when I got to college. I think that's what everybody who's having a rough time in their teen years is told. So when I got, I remember thinking everything would change when I got to Trinity College Dublin. And the thing about Trinity is it's it can be very, very accepting or very, very not. You know, there's no in between. If you hear someone say Yas Queen on campus, you need to check. You know, they might be very LGBT friendly, or they might secretly be a unionist. There's no in between. And the thing is, all of the focus on my treatment as a kid was about getting me functional, about getting me passing. A lot of work went into the way I socialize now. And the problem with that was, and I think that's the problem with autism treatment generally, it's all about like get them appearing to function. And the problem with that was I didn't realize I had depression, I didn't realize I had anxiety, I didn't realize I had a eating disorder. I just kept thinking if I just keep the course, everything will be okay. And I realized when I got to college that fake it till you make it doesn't apply to your serotonin level. And the unfortunate thing is eating disorders are actually quite common on the spectrum because we're quite picky eaters, and there's an element of not necessarily knowing when hunger is coming because of a whole sensory thing. And the irritating thing is I've got friends now trying to encourage me in all the wrong ways. I had someone sending me a TED talk by a comedian who was talking about his anorexia. He was this English guy. And after a while, I was going like, yeah, he's talking about, toxic masculinity and that, and, men can have eating disorders as well. Yeah, I get that, but he's English. What do they know about hunger? But the thing is, my dad is probably on the spectrum himself, and he doesn't always observe things in the best way. And the problem is he just wants me to be grateful, basically, for the treatments that he probably wouldn't have gotten as a child. And I think the best example of this was when he said when I was a little kid, Iain, you should be grateful for the services given in this country, mental health-wise, because in the 1940s you would have ended up in a concentration camp. Now, that's an actual thing he said. But I looked it up and I found out that Hans Asperger was actually a Nazi sympathizer who argued that autistic people, quote-unquote, would be of great service to the Reich. Now, obviously, when I read that, I went right back to my dad with the book. And I said, actually, Dad, I think you'll find the Nazis would have loved me. Now, I'll admit that's quite a low bar to set for yourself. But you'll take the victories you can get at 9 years old. All right, that's me.